We have more work to do, but this should give us a good path forward in reopening our state.
A major update tonight on reopening Washington state. On the same day, the CDC relaxes indoor mask guidelines, and Governor Inslee following suit.
And there was hope for life to return to normal on the other side of the COVID-19 pandemic.
We're so thrilled. It's just beyond belief how excited we are.
Local leaders are relieved.
Well, we've always been looking for that light at the end of the tunnel. That the light is getting closer.
And as health officials track the vaccine rollout across the state, here locally, weddings, funerals, and other major gatherings could be back to normal by early summer or even sooner.
Our state will be able to lift the vast majority of restrictions on our business activity on June 30th this year.
A huge announcement from Governor Jay Inslee today. The state of Washington will fully reopen by June 30th or even sooner if 70% of Washingtonians are vaccinated. Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News at 5 tonight. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
It's good to have you here with us. I'm Whitney Ward. This is literally the best news we have heard since finding out that there was a vaccine. We want to get right to KREM 2's Casey Decker for more on this announcement from the governor today and what it means for the rest of us. Casey?
Yeah, well, Whitney, Mark, for most of this pandemic, one of the hardest things to deal with has really been that just sense of uncertainty, never really knowing when all of this is going to end and when we can get back to life as normal. Well, tonight, we finally know when. It'll be June 30th. At least that's the target Governor Inslee just announced today. So let's get into exactly what he means by that. He says we are on track for a full reopening of the economy by June 30th. And that means really just what it sounds like. Nearly all restrictions on businesses and crowds lifted, going back to basically life as normal. Inslee says only a handful of restrictions in very specific settings will remain, such as hospitals and public transit. But to be clear here, June 30th is not actually a hard date. It could end up being earlier or later, depending on two metrics here. One, it could be earlier if we hit a vaccination rate of 70%. That means 70% or more people aged 16 and up with at least one dose. Right now, our number is 57% statewide. Two, it could be later or canceled if any point our statewide ICU occupancy exceeds 90%. If at any point we hit that metric, restrictions will need to be re-implemented. Our current number there is 82%. So a little close for comfort, though Inslee says that number is also going down right now. Now, the governor says this is all possible for two reasons. One, that fourth wave of COVID that started plateauing a couple weeks back, well, he says that's now gone into an outright decline, so we're getting our numbers back under control there. And two, of course, the vaccine.
We're very pleased in the last couple weeks to see this progress and reduction of the disease proclivity. So our case rates and our hospitalization rates are both coming down. There is universal access to the vaccine now. This is life-saving. It's free. What's not to like? And now we're moving to the full-throated dedication to protecting our citizens using that mechanism rather than restricting long-term our freedom of economic performance and other things we enjoy in life.
So, of course, having that June 30th date is great, but what's going to happen in the meantime? Well, the governor says starting next Tuesday, the whole state will be placed into and remain in Phase 3. Now, that means most businesses will be open at 50% capacity, and it'll actually be a modified Phase 3 with some exceptions to allow larger groups of fully vaccinated people. This, of course, means Spokane County no longer has to worry about being bounced back individually to Phase 2, and it means Whitman County will finally be allowed back into Phase 3. So some very, very good news tonight coming out of Olympia. Of course, we do need to stay diligent here in order to avoid that 90% ICU occupancy contingency. The best way to do that, go get vaccinated. In the newsroom tonight, Casey Decker, KREM 2 News.
Casey, thank you very much. And as he just mentioned, Governor Inslee also gave a vaccination goal that could lead the state to opening sooner than that June 30th date. If 70% of Washington residents 16 and older at least start the vaccination process, Washington could fully reopen before June 30th.
So the state definitely has some work to do if we actually want to reach that goal before the end of June. KREM 2's Ian Smay now live in the newsroom with more on how Washington is actually doing when it comes to our COVID-19 vaccines. Hi, Ian.
Good evening, guys. Governor Inslee outlined the state's work when it comes to getting the general population vaccinated during his press conference earlier. As you said, that goal is 70% of the eligible population getting at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. As you can see in this graph, here in Spokane County, 46.45% of the population has started the vaccination process, but the important number is that statewide rate, which sits at 57.43% according to the state health department's latest data. That's a little less than 13% below the mark needed to reopen the state early. And according to Inslee, it isn't just Spokane County lagging a little bit behind.
Now, we have some disparate county performance as far as vaccinations. I'll put up a graph here if we have it to show we have significant deviation in vaccination rates from county to county. We have a lot of progress we can make in many, many places.
We'll show you that graph Inslee was referring to right now. Ferry County is currently sitting just a little more than 29% of its population vaccinated. Lincoln County is a bit closer to Spokane County at 40.5%. Again, the governor said the goal is to have at least 70% of those aged 16 and older receive at least one dose of the vaccine before June 30th. Another thing the governor showed us during the press conference today was that the western Washington county of San Juan has already surpassed the 70% mark. According to what he told us, that doesn't mean that they will be able to reopen any earlier than the rest of us, but it does show that it is possible to reach his metric. Whitney, Mark?
All right, Ian, thank you very much for the update there. Also today, Governor Inslee announcing that he supports the changes the CDC is making in mask guidelines. He's now working with the Washington Department of Health as well as Labor and Industries to provide updated guidance for businesses. He says that will come out just as soon as possible. Today, with the CDC announcement, President Joe Biden urged more Americans to get their vaccine.
I think it's a great milestone, a great day. It's been made possible by the extraordinary success we've had in vaccinating so many Americans. Get vaccinated or wear a mask until you do.
The CDC says fully vaccinated Americans must still wear a mask when traveling, as well as in certain very crowded indoor areas. They also still are going to have to wear a mask according to state, local, and individual business requirements.
So who is and who isn't safe according to what the CDC is requiring for indoor gatherings? Well, if you look on the right side of your screen, the graph shows people who are fully vaccinated are safest to go to any of these indoor activities without a mask. On the right side, you can see that if you are unvaccinated, then it is less safe to attend any of these indoor activities. Those include an indoor movie theater or a small gathering from multiple households. And just a reminder, fully vaccinated means that it's been at least 2 weeks since your second shot. Well, moments after Governor Inslee's announcement today on reopening, I spoke with Spokane Mayor Nadine Woodward, and I asked her about that June 30th target date and how we get 70% of our population vaccinated. Take a listen.
What's your reaction to the governor's announcement just a few minutes ago?
Very encouraging. We have something to work toward, and it's nice to know that we actually have a goal, a June 30th deadline, so that we can open up our state, or possibly earlier if we can get to that 70% initiated vaccine number. We're getting close.
I was going to ask you about June 30th. Do you think that's too far out, or how do you feel about that target date?
Well, I'm hoping that we can, hit that 70% initiated vaccine mark even sooner. The city of Spokane has been working with a lot of partners in order to provide pop-up clinics to try to, get the message out, especially to some of the younger people, that they should get vaccinated for themselves, for their loved ones, for the community, just to get their lives back to normal.
How do you work to maybe reach out to some of those folks who are hesitant to get vaccinated to try to encourage them to get the vaccine?
Well, now they know that if we work really hard and we get to that 70% vaccination figure or goal, that we can fully open. And if that's not reason enough to get a vaccine, I just don't know what is.
The other announcement the governor made during the press conference was regarding, I guess, the CDC's announcement earlier today on masks. And he basically said that Washington will follow the CDC's guidance on that. What do you make of that announcement today?
Well, that's very encouraging, too. I get my second dose today. And so 14 days after your second dose, you're fully vaccinated. So it's nice to know that that gives us more freedom. And I think that's what you have to know, that when you get your vaccine, that you're going to get some of your freedoms back. You're going to get back to normal life. And that's what you need to have that.
So just last night, also, Washington's Department of Health cleared the way for kids ages 12 to 15 to also be able to receive Pfizer's COVID vaccine. Today, parents and kids were out taking advantage of a clinic offering the Pfizer shot at Gonzaga University. And that is where we find KREM 2's Morgan Trow joining us live tonight. Morgan?
Whitney, by the end of today, more than 1,000 people will have gotten their first or second dose of the Pfizer vaccine. And this is more than just any average vaccine clinic. Everybody who is 12 and older is now eligible to get the vaccine. I spoke with somebody who said that they're just excited to help power through.
Kids and teens have lost a year of in-school learning, athletics, and extracurriculars. That's why 17-year-old Cooper Wharton knew he had to sign up to get the vaccine as soon as he could, so he can make sure his transition to college is as seamless as possible.
Will help get the community back to normal. It's just one more. Got a lot of vaccines before, since we were born, so.
Kids are really resilient, and they're going to jump right back into life as they knew it. And so I think it's really exciting to think about that happening in the fall in sports.
The Providence Vaccine Clinic at Gonzaga is still taking walk-ins for the rest of the day, so they encourage everyone to come, regardless if you have an appointment or not.
And they said there's been a substantial amount of families who are coming and taking advantage of this. And the last appointment is around 7 o'clock, but walk-ins can still come until 6 this evening. Reporting live from the clinic, Morgan Trout, KREM 2 News.
Morgan, thank you very much. In other news this evening, Coeur d'Alene, home to the hottest housing market in the entire nation. That's according to the Wall Street Journal and Realtor.com, which says the median home price in the Lake City now sits at a little less than $500,000. That represents a jump of 44% just in the last year. Realtors in the area are saying they have never seen a market like this before. And while it may be good news for sellers, it's led to a lot of headaches for locals feeling forced out.
I've been thinking about it for the last 6 months or so, going back and forth. Do I stay here? Do I leave and go somewhere where I don't know anyone at all to start over just to find a house?
New at 6 tonight, KREM 2 investigator Ian Smay takes a look at the boom in Coeur d'Alene's housing market and how some of the consequences of increased prices have led to locals leaving the area.